what you can bags. You can get 4 and 5, which is like your pea gravel with like 60 or 70 grit, and you can lay it down like cement and make roads, just like I did out there.
Pump and supply.
L-A-R-K, S-O-N. Let me give you my phone number?
Yeah, take his phone number.
Yeah,
He's going to give you a phone number. Okay.
$5.
I like the fact they draw low amps.
They only draw 2 amps. Yeah, you know.
Are they 12 or 110? Okay.
You can get 250. I mean 220 shipping. But you get 220 and you can get half of the CD, you get a half of it. Well, I don't know if that would do it.
I've had that problem before, and
Well, I have it on.
Tom Smith is an author and member of Large Scale Online. He's part of the Wisconsin Garden Railroad Society that each year puts on a show at the Mitchell Park Domes in Milwaukee. The shows are extremely popular and have helped the Mitchell Park Domes increase their attendance during the winter months. The shows run from mid-January until about 2 weeks before Easter. Each year, the theme and track plan for the show changes. It's popular with kids, with families, and even with some of the older garden train enthusiasts. This is not just a matter of taking some highly decorated trains and running them on a track. The circus really has come to town. There are custom tents, animals, a Ferris wheel, additional rides, as well as a small town nearby with an elephant parade letting people know the circus really has come to town. The Bachmann 10-wheelers that you will see in the video have been re-engineered by Barry's big trains, enabling them to pull these very, very long circus trains. These engines have pulled up to 79 cars, including several of those being the heavyweight passenger cars. There are several Bachmann circus cars, some LGB circus cars, and some circus craft wagons. Tom scratch-built or kit-built several of the loads. The train cars and figures on the sidings were made by Ken Nordberg from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and are part of his extensive collection as well. The Wisconsin Garden Railroad Society officially became involved in 1997. However, club members from all over Wisconsin and even a few from northern Illinois come to run trains. The only requirement to run is to be a current member of a club recognized by the domes and to just get on the run schedule. The dome staff takes about 13 days to set up the show from the bare ground. The layout is somewhat sparse as the show starts and buildings and details are added as time passes by. Tom and the other members of the Wisconsin Garden Railroad Society, as well as the other groups that are involved, donate their time. Funds are raised through the dome's attendance receipts. Before there were large-scale trains, the winter season was very slow, but since the trains were added, it's one of the most popular periods of the year. In fact, the trains hold the attendance record, including the one-day record. That may not seem like a big deal, but Tom told me that the only other big day that they competed against was actually the opening day when Lady Bird Johnson dedicated the domes. Here you can get a good look at some of the models of the circus wagons and cars that have been built by Ned and Tom. Some of these have been scratch built, others are kits with additional details added. These are on display in cases that allow the visitors to get a close-up view of the models without endangering them from little hands or even big hands. The detail work and the look of these models is phenomenal. If you live near Milwaukee or find yourself there sometime, make sure you contact the Mitchell Park Domes and find out the schedule of when the trains are running. This is something that you just don't want to miss.
This is the Midwest Rails modular layout. RAILS stands for Railroaders Active and Large Scale. The layout at this show is about the largest layout that we set up. There are 6 modules missing. The layout is roughly 45 by 50 feet. The group was formed in 1994, and the membership has changed slowly over the years, but we currently have 16 members, and quite a few of those members for this show were involved in the convention, so we've been running a little bit short-handed on the layout. This layout for this time, it took us about 6 hours to get it completely set up. It'll probably take us about 2 or 3 hours to tear it down. We used the corners at the Midwest show, but they were very new at that point, and they've been around now maybe for about 2 years. They were all produced by one member, and they're basically 30-degree segments for a 90-degree turn. The radius is approximately 9 feet. It's a little bit short of that, but it's approximately that. And then the inside track is 7 3/8 in from the outside track. So our normal spacing, which is 4 inches in from the edge and 7 3/8 in from the center line of the first track. We've used a variety of systems. When we first got started, we were buying a metal hinge that some of the other large-scale groups were using on their modules, and you had 2x2 wooden legs. But we found even with bracing that those weren't always satisfactory. So most of our modules, but not all of them, have banquet-style table legs with PVC extensions to get the height that we want.
Bachmann Trains has introduced the Rio Grande Southern Motor Car No. 1. This unique engine was developed as a cost-effective solution to severely reduce passenger, freight, and U.S. mail traffic. This model is based on a replica of the Rio Grande Southern Motor No. 1 that resides in Colorado's Ridgeway Railroad Museum. This unit is powered by a realistic drive shaft. It has a die-cast frame, bed, and hood. It has 2 LED lights and a full interior with seats, instrument panels, and of course, someone to drive it. The unit is 120.3 scale, DCC ready, and retails for $325. The original RGS No. 1 was built in the Ridgeway shops in 1931. There were no drawings, but just a lot of creativity. With a total cost of less than $850, it was finished on June 1st, 1931. This rail truck was designed to keep the U.S. mail contract and to satisfy the common carrier obligation to provide passenger service without having to run expensive steam passenger trains. No. 1, which ran well and paid for itself in a little over 2 weeks, was made functionally obsolete by the later and much larger machines. Old No. 1 was probably used for parts to keep No. 2 running, and it was written off the books in October of 1932. Only 7 photos of the original are known to survive. In October of 1999, Carl Schaefer, a retired railroader with 23 years' experience on the Denver, Rio Grande Western, Southern Pacific, and Union Pacific, decided that he would make his own No. 1. He found a 1926 Model 47 Buick in Dillon, Montana, was able to purchase the front wheels, hubs, that are identical to the original and are still used on railroad inspection cars today. He made the axle, bearing blocks, and the complete front truck assembly out of standard mill steel shapes. And on June 1st, 2000, 69 years to the date, Carl Schaefer's new No. 1 ran for the first time. The Bachmann rail truck has a removable cow catcher. To replace it and add the snowplow, merely remove the 2 screws at the front and pull the bracing bar in the back out. Be careful when removing and inserting this bracing bar, as it is something that can be broken if not treated carefully. Once you have swapped the parts, just retighten the screws and you're ready to go. One nice thing about the rail truck is it is highly detailed. The die-cast doors open to reveal an engine with details on both sides. The unit has 2 working headlights powered by LEDs. One neat feature is that the motor is located in the engine compartment and a drive shaft runs back and realistically powers the back wheels. The front truck is removable and is used to get power from the track as well. It just snaps back into place. In the back of the rail truck is a black box. If you remove the black lid, you will find the electronic components. Here you will find a multi-position switch that controls power to the engine as well as the lights. The circuit board has screw block terminals, and it comes with a detailed DC wiring connection diagram. The unit is DCC ready, but there would be a challenge to hide the remote control boards and especially batteries if those are your intentions. Other than swapping out the cow catcher, the only other bit of assembly is to add our driver. We found it was easiest to put him in head first, twist him around, and set him down. we found the Bachmann rail truck a highly detailed and fun yet realistic engine. With a street price well below the retail price, this would be an excellent addition to most railroads. With all the snow outside this winter, our rail truck has found a nice and cozy warm track underneath our tree.
My name is Barry Ziegler, and the railroad is basically a Pensy theme. I'm sort of a SPF, a slobbering Pensy fan. And so Don Sweet being here, he's from the New England area, so we have both Pennsylvania and New England.
And does your railroad have a name?
It doesn't really have a name, no. Actually, we started out, I wanted a pawn, and my daughter got us a pawn for our anniversary. And so when I put the pond in, I wanted to put a waterfall in, and I wanted to put the railroad underneath the waterfall and around, and I didn't really have the money to get started at the time. So I said, well, we'll wait a couple years. So we waited a couple of years, and I got to be 60 years old, and I said to my wife, I said, you know, we're going to put the pond in the tunnel, and I'll just put a circle of track around, and then we'll go from there. And so we did that at the beginning of the summer, and by the end of the summer it pretty much looked like it does now, with few exceptions. And then we just, from that point on, just sort of put a few extra switches in here and there, and extended the shed and things like that. Basically it was this design from the word go, and it just got there a long time before I thought it was going to. Things that I did want to do when I started this was I did not want any electricity out here. I wanted battery power, and I wanted air operated switches, and the both of them have worked out really well for me.
How many feet of track do you think there are here?
There's over 800 foot. We have a 2% elevation right here with the 3 curves on it, and so when we get, we have between Don and I, we have a 28-car stack train and 2 -9s, and it puts quite a bind on it when it's coming up here. Matter of fact, we had to talk to Sam at KD because we were stretching the couplers out on the engines. So Sam said he was going to modify the knuckle a little bit, make it just a little bit heavier, so that it would take that.
Are the buildings scratch built, or?
Some of them are, and some of them are kits. The building that I have there was a scratch built building, and I did that first, and that's what has the switches in. I have all air operated switches, and this building was a gift. The guy was going to throw it away, and I said, well, don't do that, I'll take that. So I took that from him, and the rest of them are a couple of kits and a couple of Aristocraft and a scratch built station there.
So how long did it take you to build this?
Well, the railroad's 4 years old. And when I started the railroad, I actually did this back to the end of the shed. But I thought that was going to be enough. Well, it obviously wasn't, so I had to put extensions on it. And then I never intended to go in the top either. But then we got to a point where we still didn't have, when Don came in here, then we still didn't have any room, and I wanted to get these engines out of the house, off of my waste counter. I mean, she's very tolerant after 34 years, but I know she would like to have her counter back, so.
How long is that longest extension that goes all the way to the back?
Well, it's 24 feet. So this is actually 18, and then there's another 24 foot up there.
So you've got 100 feet of track just in the extension.
Oh, yeah. So there's a pretty good train sitting in there. Air against them, they push the switch. When you release the air, there's a 5-pound spring in there that pulls it back. And so the switch is always straight through when it's at rest.
Hi, my name is Ray Lewis. This is a Waterworks GP9, and it's powered off of nitro fuel, such as you use for an RC car or KSR plane. And it's a .10 OS max size, so it's relatively small. And that powers a generator, which then produces electricity for the traction motors. And the traction motors are actually Pulver coreless motors directly mounted to each axle and geared off a certain gear ratio. And this allows the unit to actually roll just as a prototypical locomotive would do. If you put the RC into it, you can control both the engine RPM, and there's actually a motor DC drive system in there that creates PWM to drive the traction motors. So you actually control two things, a little bit different than a prototypical locomotive.
The unit is powered by a gas engine. It's a modified Penmax 2-stroke engine that uses 20% nitromethane fuel that powers 4 DC cordless axle traction motors. The unit is packed with electrical and electronic components. It has a dual-purpose starter generator with a 12-volt DC starter and a 20-volt DC generator. There's one heavy-duty Futaba servo, state-of-the-art miniature voltage regulator for receiver and servo control, as well as an electronic speed control for smooth operation and directionally controlled headlights and marker lights. The Waterworks diesel electrical specifications are as follows. This is a 1/32nd scale, gauge 1, which means it runs on 45mm track. The outer body construction is made of fine scale brass. The unit that you see in the video is undecorated and it's just a baked enamel. The chassis and underframe is precision machined zinc coated steel, and the trucks are fully sprung fine scale Bloomberg trucks with swing link bolsters, ball bearing axles, and journals.
How many of these, this particular unit, were actually made?
I believe Waterworks made about 100 of them, and they're all labeled, and there's a American importer, and he has a database basically of all of them, and yeah, they're getting pretty scarce. See them on eBay every once in a while, but it's a fun unit.
The minimum curb radius is 46 inches, and the unit is about 20.6 inches long, 3.85 inches wide, 5.7 inches high, and weighs approximately 13 pounds.
Over here on this layout we were running, there's a grade on part of it, and you can feel it start struggling, so you have to crank the engine RPMs up to make sure the generator can keep putting out current to the traction motors to keep going. And yeah, it's a neat little unit.
Keep in mind that these diesel electrics are not inexpensive. The original price for the undecorated GP9 that you see here was over $3,000. As they become more scarce, you may expect to pay more. Eagle Wings Ironcraft has available their all-metal turntable, available in any size that you need for your garden railroad. At a recent show, we had a chance to view and talk with them about their product.
A lot of the units have they're incremental. They have to stop at 12.5 degrees, 24 degrees. The way we built this one is that you can stop it anywhere you wish. You're not limited to where you put your exit points.
So if someone's built an engine house,
right,
then they can, they might not have built the doors at every 15 degrees or 20 degrees.
Exactly.
And so this way they can put this on here and it'll go to any one of the doors because they can micro adjust it right to the alignment.
Exactly. The motor has been designed so that you can run it off of a transformer. You can also run it off of a battery if you wish. You don't have to have it being hardwired.
So it comes the way we see it here. You obviously, without the train, is exactly how it comes.
Absolutely.
You basically can put it in
a pit,
attach your power, and you're ready to go.
You're ready to go. The way we built it is that you can use auxiliary power. You can actually run it off of, radio control batteries, for like radio control race cars. You can plug them in if you want to.
What volt is it?
Yeah, it'll run on 3 volts, 9 volts, 6 volts, or 12 volts.
Excellent.
And it knows no different. The only difference is between 3 volts and 12 volts is about a quarter of a revolution a minute.
Okay, so it'll run a little bit faster at higher voltage, but it won't be like a wild, out of control thing.
Right. And actually, we're running this on 9 volts here, and the reason for it is 9 volts is more prototypical. But the thing is, at this speed too, you can just line it right
Run
up.
it up real easy.
And at one of the shows, well, you were there, the last show at the Queen Mary, we actually had one of these, we wanted to test it. We took it out and was setting out by our modules, that's the ABTO module. We let this run 24 hours.
And it just went around and around and around.
And we had a big heavy engine, we had a Pacific on it there. Dan can build these to any length. If he builds one for me, it's going to be 60 inches.
And this particular one is how big?
This is a 36.
36 inch, 3 foot.
But again, it's the same motor, same gearing. It's all gear driven. This unit is 100% steel. He has the unit down there, the tray itself is fiberglass, but we're going away from that to the steel, and the reason for the steel is it's impervious to weather, and it'll stay forever. The fiberglass, if you're in the Southwest like we are and you get heavy sun on it, it can weaken the fiberglass. Likewise, if you're in freezing weather, you stand that chance of getting a little bit of moisture out of it, frost damage. This makes no difference.
Does this have drainage?
Yes, there's a drain hole in the center. The electronics, everything comes from the center. The track is track powered. You have brass rings that come around. You have balls that ride the rings. So that's how you transfer the electric to it.
So when you dig a pit, how deep a pit do you have to dig?
Probably a foot.
Okay.
Just where the electronics are in the middle.
And then underneath that, with the electronics, do you have to do anything special?
Not really. If it was me doing it, I would put maybe a cement or a brick wall around it just to keep dirt from getting. And I would leave the pit maybe 3 to 6 inches below it and put some pea gravel in. So if you get moisture in, it can go through.
But all the electronics and everything underneath are sealed, and there's no maintenance that needs to be done in that area.
Absolutely. Any of the gearboxes and the little motor, they're all sealed. All the electronics, you can't see it here, but wherever there's an electrical connection, it's all been rubberized. It's sealed in rubber, so you have no fear of it. It's very simple to maintain. The gear case, there's no reason to ever take it apart to oil it or grease it. It's all permanently lubed.
For additional information, you can visit www.eaglewingsironcraft.com. HLW has available what they call a barrel kit. All you have to do is add the barrel. Everything else is included. It is packaged in one box with each of the different items, train, cars, track, all packaged individually. Let's take a look at the different items. It includes a large piece of wood that you set inside the barrel, as well as a bowl that is used for the pump that is included for a fountain that will appear in the center. Kit that we got had a Beckett pump in it, which is one of the best pumps available on the market. Each of the items in the box is carefully packaged. It includes an engine as well as power supply that's custom created on its own hanger. It includes gondolas to go with the Mighty Max switcher, and they are custom painted with a Vineyard Railroad insignia. The kit includes everything that you need. There's a full loop of track. This is sectional track, kind of like in the smaller scales, where it includes the ties and the ballast, all molded into one piece. It's very easy to snap together. The special part of the kit are the custom brackets that are made and designed to fit over the edge of the barrel to support the track. Putting together the barrel kit is easy and the instructions are very detailed. First, you need to set the wooden base for the fountain inside the barrel and then measure it on 3 or 4 sides to make sure that it's completely level. They recommend that you take the power supply and turn it to off and turn the knob all the way down and then hang it on the side of the barrel. One of the pieces of track has a power connection cord. You should find that one so that when you assemble the track, you put that next to where you hang the power supply. To attach the brackets, just use the enclosed bolts and wing nuts and you're ready to go. Next, you just take the brackets and attach them to the side of the barrel. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get used to it, I found it was easier just to put on 2 pieces of track at a time, snap them on, and then put on the next pieces of track. Just work all the way around the barrel, and when you're done, the final step is to attach the cord from the track to the power supply. Setting up the track for your barrel kit shouldn't take you more than 10 or 15 minutes, and it's very, very easy. The next step is setting up the pump. The instructions recommend that you move the indicator slider to the plus position. You will also need to remove the smaller plastic pipe. We found it very easy to do with a pair of needle nose pliers. Find the long pipe and replace it in the pump. At the top of the tube, you'll put on a nozzle head. Next, take your bowl and using the suction cups on the bottom of the pump, attach it to the bottom of the bowl. The bowl is then placed inside the barrel and water is poured in. We poured in about a gallon of water and found that was just about enough. We found it was easiest to open up the nozzle head, place it on top of the pump, and then slowly tighten it so you can get the proper amount of pressure. You have to do it just right so you don't get a lot of splash out onto the engine and track, but once you're set, you're ready to go. Turn on the power, turn up the throttle, and you're ready for your first test run of your barrel kit. We found that our barrel kit train ran great. The only recommendation that we might have is to upgrade the gondolas to metal wheels to keep the track cleaner as it goes around and around your mini garden. The final step is decorating your barrel kit, and this is the most fun because you can change it throughout the year. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, your barrel kit can have a different look throughout the entire year. HLW even sells a special Christmas barrel kit that includes a special Christmas train and gondola. The kit recommends that you use a 24 to 25 inch outside diameter wooden barrel such as a used whiskey barrel. If you use something smaller like what we did in this video, you'll need to make a couple modifications. There were two easy modifications. One, we cut the wooden platform for the pump and fountain smaller so that it would fit inside our smaller barrel. Two, we created some brackets out of 1/4 inch aluminum with a hole at each end to extend the brackets to support the track. The 1/4 inch, 3 inch wide aluminum strip is available at any home improvement center for about $8 and is easily cut with a hacksaw.
I did. I've got 2 jigs, one single, one double. And I just mass produced the bents and then just put them together with the individual strips. And took them out here in sections, 5 foot, 8 foot, whatever they were. They're poured in place with forms.
So that's solid concrete.
Solid concrete. Rebar.
And how do you deal with, frost heaves and stuff?
Outright weight of the unit.
So it's not way down or anything, it's just...
It goes down probably a foot.
Really?
Yeah, that's about it. So it's not below the frost line.
Okay.
I've had no problems with frost heave whatsoever.
You've got it in more than one season?
3 years. Yeah, thick styrofoam insulation.
Oh, okay.
Pink styrofoam board.
Yeah.
Just cut it with a keyhole saw to the shapes you want, and you glue the pieces together with liquid nails. And then once that's done, pile on about 2 or 3 inches of mortar. And I use masonry mortar mixed with acrylic bond. I don't use any water in the mix because the acrylic bond adds a lot of extra strength to the mortar mix. And then just work it in with a trowel and a wet paintbrush, and you've got the shapes you want. Beautiful. Let it dry and paint it.
There's a family living in there.
Oh, wow. Several mice and what looks like one rabbit.
What was the little gear drive for?
Well, basically just to simulate a motor, because there'd be a motor driving the separating box, which is in the middle here. The coal comes out of the mine into the separating box and it gets graded. There's usually some fellows up there who manipulate it into certain bins, and then there's drop bins, and the drop bins go to the different loading zones. There's 2 loading zones for the coal cars, the hoppers. There's a small loading zone for a dump truck to take coal to businesses and residences. And there's a conveyor system that is connected to this unit here for the finer coal, and that would go inside this hopper that would then load into a tender for a steam locomotive. Did not have enough time to finish the chutes, so there's no drop chutes for the coal tender, but you get the idea.
Yeah, there you go. Looks great.
Steel covered, just like they do in old Pennsylvania. There's a fellow in Pennsylvania that actually makes this out of aluminum. Does a great job. We used a couple of 100 pieces on this, maybe 300. The stacks are PVC. These are all covered with aluminum. I use like 36 gauge aluminum foil with contacts in it, so it's in place and I paint it, give them a little age. And the vents are just simulated wood. It's actually leftover lapwood siding from my station house. So I made all my own lapwood siding.
Your camera man. Yeah. Don't even think of it.
Tyler.
One right there, there's a Bachman on the siding, there's a Bachman over there on the siding. They're sidings now, you know. Yeah.
I take a couple of these units that timber.
I just take two of them off because the weight got too heavy. It didn't run very good. I said, you know what? I'll take two of them off.
I got your second engine, isn't it?
Tony gave away the secret. But that's where my... It's like you're baking. You ever bake? Put the two pieces together. All right.
How's it hold up in the weather? Pretty good, no problem?
Yeah, you got to watch the paint because the paint will chip off, but touch up, you know. Very dark, flat, extra black paint, and then take your primers, your camouflage or whatever, and do your highlights.
Is there anything supporting that tinfoil?
Just the wood itself that's on the platform there. Some of it has styrofoam under it to give it a different effect. Otherwise, it's free floating, so once in a while you'll see an earthquake, you'll see the rock shift. That's a California earthquake, man. Add on, height-wise, length-wise, whatever you want. I pull off sheets like this and put them together, and I'll do all my mountain, bring it down to the ground and tuck it in, tuck it under. Different colors. They have the camouflage now too, that you can get the camouflage paints, and it's a little bit different color, so it adds a different effect to it. Yeah, you go for it. Go, you know, nothing to it.
No, you should.
We were making them when the last open house, and I kind of rushed to get it done.
Garden trains can run out in the garden, but large-scale trains can run inside also. Modular groups make tables out of wood or plastic pipe to raise the track in the air. It takes a lot of people, time, and effort to put these together and take them apart when they're transported. I wanted something simple for our indoor layout, and I came across these Rubbermaid shelving units that can support over 900 pounds. Unlike a modular layout, we will not be transporting our indoor layout anywhere, so these shelves seem like they'll do the trick. The units are extremely easy to assemble. We got down to the point where we could put one of these things together in about 4 or 5 minutes. The beauty of these units is not only will they support the train, they'll provide storage underneath. The first idea was to use 2 units, one on each end, and a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. We realized that if we could put 2 on each end, we could have more storage for more trains. The beauty of these shelves is that they're lightweight and can be positioned in a variety of different ways underneath your table. Depending on where the table is located on the layout, we can change the direction of the shelves so that they will be open to the outside of the layout. Assembly was easy. We just needed a drill, a tape measure, a pen, and some 3/4 inch wood screws. We measured 6 inches from each side of the wood. This would allow our plastic shelves to be centered no matter which direction we place them in. A few simple lines would allow us to easily place the shelves to make sure that they would stay lined up. We didn't do anything fancy, we just used the screws, screwed directly through the plastic into the wood. Once one of the shelves is screwed in place, it's easy just to align the other shelf and screw it in on both sides. How you configure the table is up to you. You could have 1 on one side, 1 on the other, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, or put 2 on each side and face them in the same direction. Whatever works so you can get the most storage for your trains. One nice thing about the units is they can be manhandled by one person. They're not too heavy. It's a little bit easier when you have 2, but if you need to move them, it's a matter of a little bit of leverage and they're up and ready to go. On our layout, we're also going to have a lower unit that will allow us to have a bridge and a valley. We just used 2 shelves instead of 3. As we completed each unit, we just dragged them inside to our shop, getting them ready to set up. We wanted to keep the idea for connecting the table simple also. We got some inexpensive 1x4, some number 8 1.5 inch screws, and screwed the 1x4 to the bottom of each table end, connecting them together. Once we had all the pieces built, we moved them into position. We made sure to measure and get the first 2 pieces straight so that everything else would go smoothly. We found this to be an easy way to start an indoor railroad. It took us literally about 10 minutes to assemble each table, and now we have lots and lots of storage space, as well as an easy to move and reconfigure platforms. Plus, if we ever need to take it down, we just unscrew the wood. We've got lots of shelves that can be used for other purposes.
When I video in 208, I can show you that my house.